It did just get delayed a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, because it looks like shit. I honestly,
Tell us how you really
if
feel. We're going to talk about Lord of the Rings and how it has been embraced. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. I got a little bit of information I'm going to throw out about this, and then we will discuss. The Embracer Group, which is not a tech giant, they're a company. They've been buying up a lot of video game companies especially. But not just video games, that's just the one we've been hearing about. They're huge. Over the past few years, they all of a sudden have just been buying up all these big properties, and they're actually one of the biggest video game publishers or owners of publishers out there right now. But the Embracer Group has announced that they have acquired Middle-earth Enterprises and now hold the rights to the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit. In a statement from them, key upcoming works set in Middle-earth in which Middle-earth Enterprises has financial interest include the much-heralded Amazon series, The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, the animated movie, Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim, made by Warner Brothers, set for release in 2024, and the mobile game, Lord of the Rings, Heroes of Middle-earth by Electronic Arts. Now, this doesn't mean that Embracer is going to cancel already announced projects such as Rings of Power, even though it costs a shit ton of money, the one over on Amazon. What they had to say about it was, what it does mean is, opportunities include exploring additional movies based on iconic characters such as Gandalf, Aragorn, Gollum, Galadriel, Eowyn, and other characters from the literary works of j.r.r. Tolkien, and continue to provide new opportunities for fans to explore this fictive world through merchandising and other experiences. The Swedish company, Embracer Group, already owns video game companies such as Gearbox, THQ Nordic, and several other studios and properties from Square Enix, plus more. Outside of games, though, they also own Dark Horse Comics, which they purchased a little while back, and now Middle-earth. What this means, what I didn't put here, is that they own everything Lord of the Rings, everything Tolkien, pretty much, with the exception of the literary publications. So anything that has Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or anything Tolkien related is theirs now, except for the books, or the publication of the books of the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and such. So anything else, any video game, any show, any movie, anything is theirs. And they have a controlling interest in it. They own all of it. So what do you think this means? Given those are the comments, basically. I mean, they had a little bit more to say, but that was the basic comments that they have here. They can go in. They could right now, if they wanted to go up there to Amazon and say, nope, you can't do this. They could do that. They say that they're not. They're not going to cancel the show or anything like that. But they're talking about. I don't think they're as concerned with what is happening and what's going to happen because they got stake. They're going to get money for that. I think they're more concerned with what are we going to do next. And they're talking about Gandalf shows, Aragorn shows, Gollum shows, Galadriel, all these different characters. I mean, those were just examples they gave. What do you think's going to happen from all this, Nick?
Well, I hope it doesn't turn into a Lucasfilm situation. That's where I hope. I hope there's no. Here's how I look at it. If you're gonna do this, there's already a Gollum game, which I actually wish Embracer would actually cancel because it looks like shit. I don't.
It did just get delayed a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, because it looks like shit. I honestly.
Tell us how you really feel.
It looks. No, I'm just not I'm not a fan of when these companies buy these large conglomerates buy these name popular products because a lot of times they'll run into the ground. I mean, look at Marvel and look at Star Wars and I hate to keep harping on Disney, but it's like where's our fucking where's some good Muppets properties? Not more Star Wars and Marvel. I don't know. We'll see what happens. They own it, like you said, Dark Horse Comics. So actually, I wouldn't mind them doing a coexisting thing with Lord of the Rings and Dark Horse Comics, doing some really cool stuff there with the Silmarillion and stuff like that.
Oh, like really a comic book version?
Yeah, like a comic book series or something like that.
But it's Didn't Marvel do some Lord of the Rings comics? I could be wrong.
They may have. I don't know.
Marvel's
Yeah,
done.
no, they put it for all you know, they probably did, but I mean, I don't know. They have to make money off of this. That's why they bought it. They knew they could make a shit ton of money off this. I mean, they literally just spent $500 million on one season of television for the Powers of the Ring or Ring of Power or whatever. So, I if it were me, I don't like the fact that conglomerates buy stuff like this because they run it into the ground. But maybe we'll get more stuff and maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be better than what the fucking Hobbit shit was when it came out, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, by the way. It's almost 10 years since the Hobbit came out, by the way.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I will say this about Embracer. They don't seem like they just given like they own more than I mentioned here, but just what I have in front of me, Gearbox, THQ Nordic, and Square Enix. Now they just bought the Square Enix part. They didn't buy Square Enix. They bought some of the properties off them, like Tomb Raider. They own Tomb Raider, by the way.
Okay, hey, get A24 to doing the Daniels. Fucking
Yeah,
Tomb
the
Raider.
Daniels. Yes, Embracer. There you go. We got one for you. Call me. The new
I
Tomb
feel
Raider
like
movie. You need since they own Tomb. I don't know if they own. They don't own the right. Well, I guess they.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
they don't
that's
own
true.
the film rights, I guess. I guess the film right. They own Tomb Raider game. I guess the film rights are through somebody else. But yeah, make that happen, Embracer. But they don't seem. I could be totally wrong here. Just going off of what this is my armchair analyst look at it. They don't seem like they get into a company and like start forcing them to do things. Because I look at
Microsoft's like that.
Do what?
Microsoft's like that. They don't force these companies to do. They just do what you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, they're more like, hey, we're going to give you money, just do stuff. I mean, I'm sure that there's some stuff that they mandate, but they seem like they just are financing these things. Now, that is a double-edged sword because, I mean, I look at Gearbox. Admittedly, Gearbox hasn't really had a lot come out in a while. Well, I guess they had
hopefully no more
Borderlands
Aliens
3.
games.
Well, yeah, and that was a while back. And THQ Nordic, THQ Nordic actually has a lot of stuff. They just put this blast of stuff they have coming out. But it doesn't seem like, oh, this is totally different from what they used to do. It seems like Embracer is kind of just like, we're going to buy you. We think you could be profitable. Here's some money. Go make some shit. Hopefully that's what they're doing. Now, that is a double-edged sword. Microsoft ran into this problem with a couple of its studios, especially its bigger ones. Some of the studios were saying, hey, we appreciate the hands-off approach, but at the same time, this studio needs some management. We need someone to come in here and lay some law down. The hands-off works with some studios, but some of them, they need you to come in and be like, hey, you need to do some shit. So I am wondering, could we get some middle ground? What they're going to do with this, who knows? Lord of the Rings is a huge property. All these properties are huge that they own. I am reserving judgment because I don't know what they're going to do with it. I mean, would like to think, especially with the show coming out, there's going to be a lot of renewed interest in the property. I'm more worried that if there's not renewed interest, if there's not like an already preset interest in something, that they're just kind of like, well, we're not going to push anything. We just own it. But so maybe Lord of the Rings will get some play. Whether they're going to go the Disney route and oversaturate the market with just like Lord of the Rings this, Lord of the Rings that, Tolkien. We got Gollum show and the fucking Tom Bombadil show and all that. I mean, I hope not. That's not what I want from it because I don't want it to turn into Marvel and Star Wars.
Tom Bombadil show.
I take it as a musical.
You know what I want out of Lord of the Rings? I want a show that doesn't deal with the ring. That's what I want. Like the Rings of Power, I'm interested, but I want something that deals with, like, Gondor or something like that. That's what I've always wanted. Like the Dark Tower, like do. Well,
that's
Dark
the interesting
Tower,
thing.
But also do the fourth book. Tell us a story there too. Like that's what I want. I don't want to like. Yeah, Wizards and Glass. I don't need a fucking another Lord of the Rings story. Like, I don't care about the ring anymore, to be fairly honest.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the Tolkien universe. It's not just about the rings. There's a lot of shit that isn't about the Rings of Power. But
I don't care
since
about
those
Sauron
movies,
anymore.
as much as I love those movies, since those movies came out, that's all anything to do with Lord of the Rings, with the exception of Battle for Middle-earth, which is a great game. Everything has to do with Sauron and the ring, the Ring of Power, and all these other things. I'm like, tell us Tell us something else. I mean, The Hobbit kind of did that. The Hobbit does tie into The Ring, and the Hobbit movies, they tied more into the Lord of the Rings than the original book was, but there's a lot of stories and a lot of shit that happened in that universe and that world that had fuck all nothing to do with the rings. The rings aren't the only thing there. Tell us something else. Because it's so much so, it used to be the Tolkien universe or world. Now it's the Lord of the Rings. Everything is the Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is one part of that world. It's a big part, admittedly, but that's one part, the most popular part. But there's more to tell. Make the other parts popular. It doesn't sound like that's what Amazon's doing.
Tell me about the time the Hobbits opened up a strip club or something like that. I don't know.
Them hobbits are little frisky fuckers, so they may have, but
they are.
Yeah, we don't know where this is going as of yet, but yeah, Lord of the Rings, more or less as a whole, just about all of it is now owned by Embracer Group. Whether that's, I haven't heard it. What you hear about Embracer Group whenever they come up is, oh, they bought something else, which they did here. So I can't really say there's a negative thing towards them. People say that they're buying up a bunch of shit, which I find funny because people talk about Microsoft all the time. They're becoming a monopoly within the video game space. They don't own nearly as much as Embracer Group. Nobody ever talks about them. Embracer owns like a much larger percentage. Nobody's like, oh, they're a monopoly, we need to do something about it. No, it's just because it's Microsoft doing it. But whatever. Is this a negative thing or I don't know. It could be a good, could be a bad. This is kind of like the story we were talking about a few minutes ago. We're just going to have to wait to see. This is like the Warner Brothers Discovery thing. It could go either way. I love this property, so I hope they don't fuck it. But, time will tell. I'm sure we'll find out sooner than later, like within the next year or two, if we start getting a bunch of announcements for a bunch of bullshit shows or something like that. I say bullshit shows. Maybe they'll be amazing, but we'll see. But either way, Lord of the Rings, now owned by Embracer Group. Good for them.